When he knocked down Thurman in that fight, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This guy's 40 years old and still can crack and still as fast as lightning.
He's a legend of the sport.
He is a legend, and he's such an unusual.
Split the guard during that sequence. Split the guard during that sequence. Speed is still here. There's a right hand, and Mario Barrios trying to establish. Everyone kneel.
Joe Rogan didn't mince words during Manny Pacquiao's comeback bout against Mario Barrios. His reaction? Just 3 explosive words: he got robbed. And honestly, he wasn't the only one. Fans were outraged. Boxing legends were sounding off. The sport's biggest names couldn't believe what they just witnessed. A 46-year-old Pacquiao putting on a vintage performance, only to walk away with a controversial draw. So what exactly did Rogan, and millions of others, see that the judges didn't? Let's rewind to July 19th inside the electric MGM Grand Garden Arena. The air was buzzing. This wasn't just any fight. It was Manny Pacquiao's return after a 4-year hiatus. Across from him stood Mario Barrios, 30 years old, the reigning WBC welterweight champion, younger, taller, and expected to end Manny's legendary run. Pacquiao, though, wasn't there for nostalgia. From the opening bell, it looked like 2010 all over again. His footwork was crisp, his timing razor-sharp, and those trademark straight lefts. He continued to land with precision. The crowd erupted every time he cornered Barrios or exploded with a flurry. Manny! Manny! Chants echoed through the arena. Barrios, in contrast, fought cautiously. He relied heavily on his jab, clearly trying to capitalize on Pacquiao's age and avoid risks. But round after round, that plan started to crumble. Pacquiao dominated the middle rounds, slipping shots, pressing the pace, and landing the cleaner, harder punches. Statistically, he outworked and outlanded the younger champion. So when the final bell rang, everyone, from the crowd to commentators, thought Pacquiao had sealed a triumphant return. He raised his hands, smiling, soaking in the crowd's cheers. Then came the shock. The judges called it a majority draw, and the atmosphere instantly shifted. Cheers turned to boos. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #PacquiaoRobbed trended within minutes. Even fighters and analysts worldwide weighed in, baffled by the result. That's where Joe Rogan's reaction came in, and it went viral. Sitting in his studio, Rogan summed up what millions were thinking. He wasn't just surprised, he was furious. According to him, this wasn't a close fight. It was a clear win for Pacquiao, and the judges completely blew it. From his footwork to his output, from ring control to damage dealt, Rogan, like many others, saw Pacquiao outperform Barrios in almost every department. And now, fans are left wondering not just why the decision went the way it did, but how often boxing gets it wrong. So let's break down what Rogan saw, what the numbers say, and why this fight may be remembered more for its controversy than for the legend's incredible return. By the second round, Pacquiao had found his rhythm. He began targeting Barrios' body with crisp hooks, blending them seamlessly with straight lefts to the head. Barrios continued relying heavily on his jab, but his reluctance to fully engage gave Manny the freedom to dictate the pace. The real fireworks ignited in rounds 3 and 4. Pacquiao's signature footwork came alive, darting in and out, pivoting sharply, and cutting angles with precision. In round 4, the crowd erupted when Pacquiao trapped Barrios in the corner and unleashed a blistering 5-punch combination that landed clean before Barrios managed to clinch. Rounds 5 through 8 were classic, vintage Pacquiao. He marched forward relentlessly, unleashing fluid combinations, mixing body shots with snapping straight lefts that repeatedly rocked Barrios' head back. This stretch was where Pacquiao truly pulled ahead. Statistically, it was his most dominant phase, with the majority of his 81 power punches landing during these rounds. Barrios was on the defensive, constantly backing up and forced to reset under the pressure of Pacquiao's non-stop offense.
Start to open up and get time on shots like that right. And he went for the second one, and here it is again. Getting desperate.
When the final bell rang, Pacquiao raised his gloves with a confident smile, certain he had done enough to secure the victory. The crowd roared in agreement, chanting his name as Barrios stood silently in his corner, breathing heavily and expressionless. After Manny's clear dominance in the middle rounds, most fans and analysts believed the outcome was all but decided. But no one was prepared for what came next.
That body shot there with a left from Manny Pacquiao to the solar plexus of Manny.
The atmosphere inside the MGM Grand changed in an instant the moment the scorecards were announced. What had been a night filled with nostalgia and electric excitement turned to disbelief and outrage. Fans who had spent the evening roaring with every Pacquiao flurry were suddenly stunned into silence. Then the boos came, loud and relentless, shaking the arena walls. A majority draw. Two judges had it even at 114 to 114, and the third narrowly favored Barrios at 115 to 113, just enough for him to retain his WBC welterweight title. For those who had watched Pacquiao take control through the middle rounds, the decision felt like a robbery. The chants of "Manny, Manny" filled the arena again, but this time they weren't cries of celebration, they were cries of protest.
That was a combination of punches of flurry. 1, 2, 1, 2, boom. 4, 1, 2, and he's going straight back Mario Barrios. But
Pacquiao's reaction spoke volumes. Ever the sportsman, he nodded respectfully and applauded Barrios, but the brief flicker of disappointment in his eyes said what he wouldn't. Later, he kept it simple. He believed he'd won but gave Barrios credit for being a tough, game opponent. Barrios, calm and composed, hoisted his belt and thanked both Pacquiao and the fans, insisting he'd done enough to earn the win. But the chorus of boos that rained down told a different story. Ringside, commentators exchanged confused glances as the crowd's frustration mounted. Many questioned how Barrios' late-round volume could outweigh Pacquiao's cleaner, more damaging shots in the earlier frames. For the fans inside the MGM Grand, the numbers didn't matter. The eye test told them everything they needed to know. Online, the backlash was immediate. Hashtags like #PacquiaoRobbed and #BoxingCorruption began trending within minutes. Social media was flooded with clips of Pacquiao's crisp combinations and Barrios backpedaling, often captioned, "This was Manny's fight and how is this a draw?" What should have been celebrated as one of the greatest comebacks in modern boxing was now clouded in controversy. And right at the center of the storm, one name kept surfacing: Joe Rogan. Because if there's one voice in combat sports that never holds back when he sees injustice, it's his.
After this layoff, I'm not fighting on even terms here with Mario. Oh, what a nice fight from Barrios, but the answer from Manny Pacquiao. It clears the center of the ring. And if Dickie said, Manny Pacquiao, you got to...
The outrage wasn't just emotional, it was universal. Across the boxing world, from fighters to analysts to fans, one sentiment echoed louder than any scorecard: Manny Pacquiao should have had his hand raised. Former world champion Sean Porter, known for his typically measured takes, didn't mince words. He called the judging incompetent, explaining that Pacquiao clearly dictated the pace, landed the cleaner, more effective shots, and kept Barrios on the back foot for the majority of the fight. Porter emphasized that a champion shouldn't be rewarded for simply surviving the first 8 rounds and only becoming aggressive near the end. Veteran journalist Dan Rafael was even more direct, slamming the decision as absolutely awful and a complete disgrace. His comments quickly went viral, resonating with thousands of fans who felt Pacquiao's return had been stolen from him. Even active fighters weighed in. Devin Haney tweeted, "Pacquiao should have won," while his feed lit up with reposts of other pros who had scored the fight decisively for Manny. Dozens of unofficial scorecards across media platforms read 115 to 113 or even 116 to 112 in Pacquiao's favor. Almost none had it a draw. Fans weren't quiet either. On Reddit's Our Boxing, top-voted posts blasted the outcome. Barrios was tentative all night. Manny should have won that fight at 46. Pacquiao was pressing the action. Barrios just backed up. Social media exploded. Clips of Manny's sharp counters, his head movement, and his relentless mid-round pressure flooded every platform. Slow-motion highlights of him slipping Barrios' jabs and landing crisp left hands racked up millions of views in just hours. Captions like, "And this is a draw." "Boxing did Manny dirty tonight." Dominated TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Twitter threads. Inside the MGM Grand, the outrage was just as real. Boos rained down long after the fighters had left the ring. Some fans were still chanting "Manny, Manny." During Barrios' post-fight interview Manny, this wasn't just a controversial call, it was a robbery that tainted what could have been one of the greatest comeback stories in boxing history. A 46-year-old legend stepped into the ring with a prime champion and outperformed expectations. He deserved a win, not a questionable draw, and that's exactly where Joe Rogan's voice came in. Known for his unfiltered takes and deep passion for combat sports, Rogan summed up the frustration of millions in just 3 words: he got robbed. What followed was more than backlash, it was a full-blown storm. The numbers backed Pacquiao. The eye test confirmed it. The fans demanded justice. Subscribe for more fight breakdowns, reactions, and updates from the world of boxing.